This is the NuPhy Halo75 V2. It's a 75% keyboard with unbelievable sound and almost no compromises. The key differentiators are the appearance, the typing experience, and a unique approach to RGB lighting. Starting with appearance, the keyboard is beautiful. NuPhy sticks with their incredible, quirky aesthetic with the white and black models, but adds in colored options, which I think are awesome. This particular blue model fits right in with my channel colors and personal preferences. 10 out of 10, love the appearance. Typing on this keyboard is also incredible. I've got a full sound test coming later in the video, but here's a quick preview of the Lemon tactile switches in action. Pretty solid. The last key feature is RGB. And while RGB can be a little bit divisive, when it's done right, it's pretty darn cool. The Halo name for this keyboard is given for its lights that go all the way around the bottom of the case, providing a very cool lighting effect. I don't know whether I would keep it on daily forever, but it makes a statement. So if that's what you're looking for, then look no further. Now that I've covered the key selling points, here are the key drawbacks. This keyboard is chunky and heavy. This might be a drawback in my category primarily because I've spent most of my time on YouTube reviewing low-profile keyboards, but either way, this thing is a beast made of heavy materials that will stand prominently on your desk. I also mentioned the RGB, and that's a divisive feature for a lot of people. You can absolutely turn it off, but for folks who view the mere presence of RGB as a potential deal breaker, it'll be particularly hard to get past this much RGB power on one keyboard. Another potential drawback is that there are no option for clicky switches. The keyboard is hot-swappable though, so you could add them later if you really wanted them. And finally, the last drawback is price. Well, this one's a little bit complicated. The keyboard is premium and is priced at $130 for this 75% version, plus a likely shipping cost. It's nowhere near the most expensive keyboard around, and it's not even the most expensive keyboard I've reviewed on this channel. But if your budget is tight, you can certainly find a very quality keyboard for less. So in the whole universe of keyboards, I'd say this keyboard is expensive. However, if you go feature by feature, as we'll do later in this video, and compare that to direct competition, like something in the Keychron Q series, this is actually an incredible value. So price can either be a pro or a con, depending entirely on what you see as the other options and the competitors. Now, much like with price, you may have noticed that almost all of the drawbacks could be potentially seen as positives for different people. You might see chunky and heavy as premium. You might see lots of RGB as awesome. No clicky switches, no problem. And price is in my budget. If you pass all these tests, you're probably not going to find much else that pushes you away from this keyboard, and you could go pick one up from the affiliate link down in the description right now. However, I am always here to give you the full details. So after that summary of the key points, let's jump into a more detailed analysis to help you decide whether the Halo75 V2 is right for you. Now, as I jump into the details, I must call out that this keyboard was sent to me by NuPhy. However, everything in this review represents my own thoughts, my own opinions, based on my own independent testing. And neither the video script nor the video itself was reviewed or approved by NuPhy prior to posting. Now let's talk about those details. Physically, this keyboard has a beautiful design and very premium materials. It features an aluminum top case with an ABS plastic bottom case. The bottom case is really the highlighting feature here because it's translucent enough to let the RGB light out, but also to let you see in to admire the color-matched internals, which are an incredible touch. You can pick up the Halo in 5 different colors: a familiar black and white, which continues to leverage NuPhy's iconic colored keycaps, and all new colored versions in green, blue, and pink, which each feature color-matched keycaps, which create a consistent and clean look. As mentioned, I love this blue version. My only complaint is that the blue color on the top case is a little bit different in person than I expected based on the pictures. Now, we all perceive colors differently, so you may feel differently, but in person, it feels a bit shinier and more royal blue than I anticipated. I'll try my best in the B-roll to make that come out, but just know that from my experience, it was a little bit different. I also think if it were closer to the dark blue color of the keycaps, it would look better overall, but I'm still impressed and think it looks really cool. The keyboard stands tall on your desk at 1.3 inches at the back. By default, there is a 5-degree typing angle, which can be adjusted to either 8.5 or 12 degrees. At full tilt, that 1.3 inches goes up to almost 2 full inches. That's about 60% taller than the low-profile Air models. The keycaps are double-shot PBT plastic, which feels ultra premium to me. The keys do not offer shine-through for the RGB that's below, except for 3 specific keycaps. The F, the J, and the up arrow keys are all the keys that feature raised homing bars. These are the tactile little bumps you feel in your keyboard that let you know your hands are in the right place for typing. NuPhy added shine-through specifically to these keys only, and even added a specific RGB layout that highlights just these keys individually. I find this super useful, and it's a simple visual guide without being too bright or distracting. So it's a good middle ground if you're not somebody that loves RGB. I could talk for quite a while about the RGB features on this keyboard, like how the light bar on the top left corner can serve as a permanent battery level indicator, or how you can not only exclusively highlight those homing bars that I mentioned, but you can also do the same for WASD when gaming. Or how about this feature, where light builds up slowly as you type and then slowly dissipates away when you stop? Or what about the fact that you can turn everything off, use just backlighting, or choose between light bar with the Halo logo lit, or both with full Halo effects? It's a boatload of fun if you're into the RGB thing. Typing on the Halo V2 feels premium at every turn. From the aluminum top case to the PBT keycaps, it's just as lovely to use as it is to look at. The switches are hot-swappable, and the switch options are all collaborations between NuPhy and Gatoron. They're called Mint, Raspberry, and Lemon. They offer a premium option as well for Cherry Silent Red clear top switches. Those cost an additional $10 though. The space bar is also special. It's called a ghost bar, and it's designed specifically to limit the space bar's sound and make it sound more like a regular key press. The results are impressive, which you can hear in use. Typing feel is soft and luxurious. I find the quality of the sound to be extremely impressive. The only drawback is that it sounds slightly louder than I'd like. It could be enough to upset a nearby neighbor if you're a heavier typer. Either way though, for a pre-built keyboard, this is about as good as it gets. The key layout is solid. It's a fairly standard 75% layout. I do think it's important though to call out a few slight differences between this and the Air 75. First, there is one fewer key on the right-hand side next to the spacebar. This gap is a control key on the Air layout. I personally like this gap as it helps you find the arrow keys a bit more easily, but it could be a problem if you typically use that control key on a regular basis. The other change is to the home and page up and page down, which are laid out slightly differently. On the Air, this could be switched around pretty easily and remapped accordingly. But on this model, the keys are shaped differently as you go up the keyboard. So if you move them around, it would get a little bit funky. Speaking of remapping, if you're into customizing your keyboard, one of the upgrades to this second version of the Halo keyboard is the addition of support for QMK and VIA. Other than those specific callouts, the key selections are logical and similar to NuPhy's other keyboards. The function row matches the standard Mac layout out of the box, and there are some extra keycaps included which allow you to swap between Mac and Windows keys, and also change a couple of the function row keys if you wish. The font on the keycaps has been changed as well compared to the Halo V1, centering the text on each of the keycaps and changing the font to be in all caps. This now matches both the Air and Gem models, which I think is cool for consistency's sake across all of the NuPhy models. Finally, if you followed several of my NuPhy reviews, you'll be interested that the right shift key is still not stabilized. However, much like with the Air 96, I have not had any issues with missed clicks throughout my weeks of testing. If you need an explanation for what the heck I'm talking about, go back and watch the Air 75 review to learn more. As is common with NuPhy keyboards, you have lots of options for connectivity. A full wired mode is available, as well as multi-device wireless connectivity via Bluetooth. You can do 3 different Bluetooth connections and 1 with the included USB receiver, which gets up to 1000 Hertz polling. Great if you're a gamer. When in wireless mode, the keyboard does enter a sleep mode. However, I did not have any issues with the speediness of waking back up. Plus, sleep mode can be disabled with a combination of the function and right bracket key if you wish. The Halo V2 features the same USB-C rechargeable 4000 milliamp hour battery that I spent over a year testing with the Air 96. From that experience, I expect that this model will also last incredibly long. In my about 3 weeks of testing this Halo, I used 70% of the battery with RGB on, putting my use at right around a month per charge. Since there are so many RGB lights on this model, that will be the biggest determinant of just how long your battery will last. But for me, with RGB on, a month is very solid. If you've made it this far into the video, here is a reward by pointing out a few interesting quirks about the Halo V2. First, there is this slot in the back, which comes with a little rubber plug in it by default. It actually looks cool as is, but based on its size, I can only assume that it's for the USB receiver. However, when you plug in the receiver, it sticks out oddly far. Just a little strange. Perhaps a more satisfying quirk, though, is right above that slot where there is a beautiful Halo logo. This is actually removable. If you press down on the left side of it, you can remove it from its magnetic hold. I don't really know why, but you can. So, in conclusion, the Halo75 V2 is an incredible keyboard. It feels like pure quality when you're holding it and when you're using it. It's pricey as a keyboard, but relatively cheap in the land of premium mechanical keyboards. It's luxurious with wild RGB and some of the best sounding keys you'll find from a pre-built. If you need a keyboard and this is in your budget, I can't imagine you'll be disappointed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.